All right, we got lots of things to do this morning. One of the things I want to do is introduce you to somebody who I think you're going to be very impressed by. Certainly, I am. In times like this, when we need hope of things to celebrate, I thought I'd tell you about Njabulo Madlala this morning. He's a London-based South African baritone opera singer who saw that so many young talented artists were being affected by lockdown. So he decided to set an online singing competition called Online Voices of South Africa Opera Singing Competition. It has been taking place over the past few weeks with these young hopefuls vying for prize money. Did you even know about this, Pumi?
No.
I think it's great. So it's something that our South African talent can look forward to.
So we can watch it?
He's on the line. We can talk to Njabulo now. Yeah, we can watch it. You could be a part of this. It was all created in response to COVID-19 lockdown, which has affected the arts. Obviously, we've spoken to a number of artists over the last few weeks and resulted in singers not being able to perform live for audiences around the world. So tenors from across South Africa were invited to submit 1-minute video clips of their singing via Facebook. And after listening to all of them, Njabulo selected 20 of them to submit further videos. And these are about 5 minutes long, any opera song they like. And then they were chosen to sing live on Facebook. So Njabulo, well done on this front, man. Congratulations on coming up with a plan to keep the arts alive and thriving during lockdown.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. Thank you. Yeah.
What a pleasure. I mean,
Njabulo, you come on here. You gotta sing an intro, dude. You're not just on some. Thank you very much. We want to hear the me.
Let's go. Largo il factotum. Or let's go with
at this time of the morning.
Yeah, go. Give us some brindisi there.
Go.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Why didn't I think about that before so that I could have at least warmed up?
Well, it's going to make Pumi's day. So if you can, Njabulo, it'll make South Africa's day. So
okay. Maybe at the end.
Okay.
I'll sing.
All right.
Okay.
You'll show off a little bit for us later on. So, Njabulo, I mean, many of us know about your incredible career, but this is a great thing for you to do for young and talented people who are really sitting around with nothing to do at the moment, thanks to the lockdown and everything else.
Yeah.
So is it an idea you just came up with while you were sitting at home? Is it something that you thought of with some friends? How did it all come about?
Well, the idea to go online is something that I don't know. I woke up. Well, just to give a bit of background, it's something, the singing competition itself is something I've been doing for the past, I think, 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Having come out from Durban, I came to London to study. And when I got to London, I actually realized, I mean, I grew up in a very, how can I say without being patronizing of my family, but I grew up in a very poor family. And I was very lucky to get a scholarship to go to Guildhall as a result of being heard by somebody. And I remember when I arrived at the Guildhall for studies, thinking immediately, hearing my colleagues from all over the world and thinking, very talented, but wow. We've got something serious going on in South Africa. There's a lot of talent. Because I was hearing people who'd been singing and studying music since they were children. And they were at the best schools, but when I was listening, I was thinking, wow, we don't realize in South Africa how much talent we have. So immediately I started,
unfortunately in South Africa, sorry, I was just saying, in South Africa, unfortunately for many people, they don't get to study music professionally because it's not high on the list of priorities. Most people are just trying to earn a living.
Yes.
They're just trying to get their kids to study something that'll make them some money. And music sometimes gets put on the back burner unless you can make a breakthrough success somewhere or you know someone who knows someone. And opera in particular is hard to get into if you grow up in a township or if you grow up in the rural parts of South Africa. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. But we are also in the townships. What really brings us to opera is this connection of choirs. We sing in choirs. Yes. So somehow our voices do get developed, even sometimes way more than people who've been attending lessons because of the repertoire that we sing with choirs and things like that. So when I got here, I realized that, and when I finished studying, as I was finished studying, I started this project where I would bring colleagues, people who were some of them were my teachers, some of them were people I was working with now in the field, and I'll bring them to South Africa once a year. And so that's been going on for about 7 years. Each year I bring them, we spend 2 weeks in South Africa doing opera masterclasses, and some of those people are heads of departments in music schools. So they always come, and they will always give 3 or 4 students a scholarship to come over here. And that's been going on for a few years. But this year, obviously, we can't do the competition live and the master classes. So the master classes happen over 2 weeks, and at the end, we usually have a singing competition. Then the public comes in and watches. But this time we can't do it. And I was thinking, what could I do in this time? I normally do it in July. And I suddenly thought, well, I could do something online. And if it's online, not on some website, on Facebook, because actually we do have a lot of people on Facebook that follow us that are not necessarily opera people, but they can get to actually, because everybody understands competition. Everybody understands singing competition, whatever the genre of music. Everybody can get involved with that, can then actually learn more about opera. So I put out this thing. Actually, I called a friend of mine that morning and I said, I'm thinking of doing something like this. Would you support it? They have a bit of money. So he said, yes, how much do you need? And I said, if you could give me 30,000 rands, then I can spread that over the month. And each weekend, because obviously as well, unlike in the rest of the world, artists in South Africa are not really taken care as artists elsewhere. In other parts of the world, people are locked down now, but the governments are giving them something every month. But our artists are actually sitting at home, a lot of them, with absolutely nothing. If you don't have a gig, you're stuck. There's no food, there's no electricity, all these things. So I thought if the competition starts, one, it will get people singing again. It will give people something to look forward to. It will get people feeling positive, but it will also give some of them, a small number of them, each weekend, something so that they can go out there and get some food, those who win. And so I just set up 3 prizes of 2,000 rands each weekend. And that's how it started.
Amazing. Now in all of this, are you actually able to work? Because you've done some incredible performances over your career. You went over there in 2002?
Yes.
Study at Guildhall.
Yeah.
And you've performed with some of the greats. You've also won prizes. Amazingly, you brought in some of the other judges. Just tell us who they are in this opera competition, because these judges are as prolific as you are.
Yeah. Well, I have a singer, an Italian singer, Ildebrando D'Arcangelo, who's very, very famous. But like all artists, everyone is sitting at home. And I feel like there's more access to people in many ways. They've got time. Even people who are big stars, they are at the moment at home and they are willing and they are able to get involved. So I have some people from Italy, some people from the US, some people from the UK, and they all get involved by voting. So each week, singers, so I've divided with voice types. So we started with tenors, and the second week was sopranos, and this last weekend was mezzo sopranos, and this coming weekend is going to be basses and baritones. And so each week, everybody submits their video between Monday and Monday, and I just 1 minute, and then I sit and listen, which I'll be doing today, listening to all the basses, and then I choose between 15 and 20. What I consider the best ones, and then they all have to now record a full song on their phones at home, and then they send it over, and then I put all those 20 singers into a YouTube link, and I send it to all the judges wherever they are, and they listen, and then they choose 3 winners or sometimes 4 winners. It depends how many prizes I've got, because sometimes people are also coming forward. Some of these judges come forward as they listen and they say, how much is the top prize? And I'm like, 2,000 rands. And they're like, okay, I'll donate 2 of those. So actually more singers have been getting more prizes. Yeah.
And for these people who are singing in South Africa and submitting these videos, what can happen for them at the top end of like the possibility scale? Can they come over there and end up studying with someone like you?
Yeah, a lot of them will end up, that will end up happening because, for example, over the 4 weeks, we've been having like 2 or 3 or 4 winners. And there's going to be a grand final where we take people who've won over the 4 weeks and they will all sing together. And in that grand final, I've invited all the music colleges in the UK and one in the US, the
Oh,
Juilliard,
wow.
the head of studies. And I've invited opera companies to also all become part of the judges. I've invited some agents, some artist agents to be judges. And then out of that, they will be able, and I'm quite sure that, I mean, last year, just from a live competition in South Africa, where I brought, I don't know, about 5 people, they were able to offer 6 singers scholarships. 4 of them are at the Guildhall at the moment. One is at the Royal Opera House as a young artist on the Young Artist Program. One is at the National Opera Studio. So this makes it even better because all these people can watch from all over. And, it's easy in that way. And I'm quite sure that because really, nothing like this exists in the rest of the world. The talent in South Africa is not something. And now I've had the opportunity to live outside of South Africa, hear opera singers, and I can absolutely guarantee nowhere in the world you will find that quality of singing.
That's fantastic.
So what's the Facebook page? And I have missed the past 3 weeks. Are the videos still up?
So it's Voices of South Africa International Opera Singing Competition.
Go on, Pums, find it.
That is, yeah, dude, I'm about to.
If you put Voices of South Africa, it should come up. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, Njabulo, as you're speaking, one of the things that I'm asking myself and speaking about the quality of voices that exist here at home.
Yeah.
It is also because we take it for granted. When you grow up with so many rich, beautiful, everybody can sing around you, you don't think that it is a new and special thing.
Yeah.
And so for you, now having had this worldview, what do you think is the message we need to give to young South Africans or just ordinary South Africans that may think they have a talent beyond the ordinary kind of voice competitions? What else can they do to get themselves out there too?
Well, I've been also amazed by, in many ways, the success of the competition on Facebook, because I think it's allowed other young singers, because it's also easy for some of them to feel like, I do sing opera, or I think I have some talent in opera, but I'm not really as good as those people who've gone to UCT or those people who've, gone to study already, But what this has allowed them to see, because everyone who submits a video, it doesn't matter if you've studied or not studied, I share it on Facebook in a Facebook group. And others are seeing that actually I'm not really that bad. I'm hearing that person has studied and achieved this and this and this, and it's encouraged them. They're all putting their videos in. And then with these judges who are coming on, the feedback, I get the judges to record like 1-minute videos or 2-minute videos at the end of judging to just give feedback on what they thought. And I think singers are starting to realize that, sometimes they underestimate themselves. They underestimate what they have. They just need to go for it, because...
What happens is that also people think opera is this magic.
Yeah.
And you need to be indoctrinated into the magic, and
Yeah.
it's like you have to go to Hogwarts and study with Harry Potter, otherwise you're not going to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because opera has this reputation for being very complicated and only for the elite and so on.
Yeah.
I'm not being unkind. That's probably the perception, right?
Yeah, no, that is the perception, and I don't know how and when that perception will change, because actually the majority of singers in South Africa who sing opera are black singers from townships. So that can't, in South Africa, it can't be true that this is an elitist thing that belongs only to people over there. I mean, I got into opera because by accident, my grandmother was a domestic worker, and her employer loved opera, and she would from time to time get rid of things, and my grandmother brought these tapes home. Okay, I was singing in the choir already, but I listened to the tapes whenever the adults were away. I would sing along and got others of my friends in my street. Almost everyone that we went to school with was in the choir, was singing opera. You know, it was just something that is there even today. It's in the townships, and I don't think people realize. They still think of opera as this thing that is European. Yeah, but it really isn't. It really isn't. Yes, that's where it originates from, but also we are, you know, black singers, and especially South African singers. We are going to influence the opera world outside of South Africa now, who still in many ways are closed in many ways. But you know, South Africans are coming in that space, and people you know, South Africans are assisting the opera world actually look at opera singers and people who sing opera as not just limited to people who come from privilege, who come from, you know, because you can sing opera, you can, and why I'm saying South African singers is because actually, if you even take the UK, you have here black British people, you have in the States, you know, black people who sing opera, but you don't have the amount of black people who sing opera like you have South Africans. Not anywhere in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You know, so South Africans are actually...
We'll take it. We'll take this prize.
We need something to celebrate. This is
definitely
incredible. Well done.
But then it's a shame, you know, because in the same way, the one country where opera is not appreciated not just by people in the streets, but also by our government. South Africa is that country. You know, there's no funding for opera in South Africa. There's absolutely no support for opera singers. And I say this not to take a dig at our government or anything, because I would love, you know, to be one of the people that say positive things about them. But there's absolutely no interest in opera from that office. You know, nothing. And in fact, they refuse. I think they just refuse to. I mean, it's like a right. If you've got a group of people, like so many South Africans talented in opera, how can you just insist on ignoring that? You know, and especially now you have so many South African singers making it in a big way abroad. Pretty Yende, Phumeza Machikiza, all these singers singing at the Metropolitan, La Scala, everywhere. And yet nothing will be done by South African government to assist in any way. I mean, even now, starting this competition, I had sight of a list of people who got the government funding. There was not one opera singer there. There was not one opera singer there.
It's very sad. It's very disappointing.
It's really disappointing. But in any way, I hope that somehow we can change that, because.
Well, I think you are.
What
you
time?
are
So
in amazing ways. This is terrific. This is worthy, as Pumi says, of celebration.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so, what time for myself and everybody else that is listening? When do you put out the next? So this week we're listening to the basses and the
basses and baritones at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock South African time, if they go to the page, and then in 2 weeks, and then the next weekend we will hear pianists, because we also have young pianists who usually play for choirs and singers, but they are not able to play at the moment. So they have also asked them to record something, and it will be played the next weekend. And then the weekend after is the grand finale, where it's all the people who've won over the 5 weeks competing now together. And I'm actually really working really hard to raise some money for prizes for that grand finale, because it would be nice if actually the prizes are not like 2,000 rands. It can be something a bit substantial for whoever wins. And it's going to be 3 prizes, something like not 2,000 rands, but 10,000 rands, 5,000 rands, and 2,000 and 3,000 rands, but something to try and get them to use that money towards their development, not just now to survive during this, but to maybe put it aside so that when this is over, they can take lessons. I mean, certainly if we get enough money to give the first prize, enough money to buy a plane ticket, so that when this is over, they can then come to London to audition for music colleges. Because that's another thing. People might watch these people and love them, but they still have to go through the process of coming over and auditioning for the rest of the of the team in these music schools, and that also needs money when they have to fly outside. And yeah.
Please add a crowdfunding button on your Facebook so that people who listen, I see you've got 10,000 people who've liked the page. Please add a crowdfunding. So even if it's, even if you're putting in 10 Rand, I think with all the 10,000 people that you've got on there, surely we can.
Actually, I should. That's a good idea. I should do that, because if 10,000 people, 10 rands each is quite a bit,
It is. It's substantial.
Yeah.
Well,
bravo,
you have to.
Njabulo.
Yeah, bravo. And Pumi's not going to let you go without forcing you to sing. I know it's a horrible thing to do for a singer first.
How my name is being used in vain.
At least you are in summer over there, because over here it would be much worse with the winter cold and
with the winter.
Everything else. So whenever you're ready, this is very exciting.
So I'm getting up and getting some water.
This is professional.
Maybe I'm going to just sing something South African then. I'll sing something short.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Cool.
Tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula. Samtata, sambega ekaya, wasuge wakala, wati my babo. Tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula. Samtata, sambega ekaya, wasuge wakala, wati my babo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A great pleasure to have you on this morning. Well done again for what you're doing for other singers. So many people are busy with their own careers and they don't take the trouble and time to think about those who are coming up next, and they're threatened by them in very many circumstances.
Yes.
I'm delighted that there's someone like you who's giving back, and I hope we can all play a part in making that happen. Pumi's idea of crowdfunding is a really good one. And we'll be watching the next series of your show and hearing the baritones and the basses.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
On Saturday, I'm there.
Thank you so much. Njabulo, thank you. Very cool. What a pleasure. Wow, what an interesting guy, huh? Isn't that cool?
Great guy.
Magnificent.
That's Njabulo Madlala, and you can find out more about this very successful South African-based baritone who's now, London-based South African baritone who's now making things happen in the Voices of South Africa opera singing competition. Just look it up. We'll put the links in our description below.